What's up guys, it's Mercury and welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a Regulation E tier list for all of the new and returning Pokemon in the Teal Mask DLC, so hope you guys are excited for this. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do so, it helps the channel a lot and I'm going to keep the videos coming for you guys as well. But yeah, let's just hop straight into it. So the way that I've ordered the tiers here, real quick, is just S through C and then the D tier as well. The D tier I would say are Pokemon that you really just shouldn't use. There's really not a point in using these Pokemon since there are often just better options. And then as you're going up the list, C is usually, I guess you could say C stands for like cheese. If you really want to cheese your opponent, or if one of these Pokemon are your favorites, go ahead and use them. B, I would say, is like, you know, fairly decent Pokemon. Pokemon that you can definitely use, but there still might be better options to consider if you really just want to win. A tier is definitely Pokemon that are meta, near the top of the top, and then S tier, of course, are the Pokemon that are going to be making the biggest impact in Regulation E. So let's get it started here. We're going to talk about Arbok quickly. I'm not really going to talk much about some Pokemon because some of them are really unviable. And like I said, unless they're your favorites, you probably should not use them. So Arbok going straight in the D tier here. Arbok, not a great Pokemon. If we look at its stats, if we type in Arbok here, and we look at its stats, these are just very mediocre stats. Like 95 base attack is the only thing that stands out. Even then, it's nothing exceptional. It does get access to Intimidate, but other than that, there's really no reason to be using Arbok. So it's going to go in the D tier. I would say Alolan Sandslash is probably in the D tier as well. I mean, it can be okay. You know, it's got that nice Ice Steel typing, but you do have a 4 times weakness to Steel, I think, or no, sorry, Fighting. But yeah, I mean, there might be a use for it, but like, really, I don't think... Oh, this is Sandshrew. Oops. I really don't think there's a use for this Pokemon. Like, it does get Slush Rush and Snow Cloak and things like that, but at the end of the day, like, its stats are just not good enough. Overall, not a great Pokemon. Same goes for regular Sandslash, so if we go back here, we're going to put that in the D tier as well. They're very niche Pokemon. If it's your favorite, go ahead and use it, but otherwise not going to be a big standout Pokemon. Now, Clefairy, I actually think is pretty good. Clefairy is an Eviolite user, and it does get Follow Me access, so anything that has Follow Me or any kind of redirection, like Rage Powder, for example, is honestly a pretty decent Pokemon when you like look at it. And this thing obviously doesn't have the greatest stats on paper, but you got to factor in Eviolite, so it gets a 50% boost to its stats. It does mean that you can't hold something like Citrus Berry or Leftovers, for example, to make your bulk even better, but this thing also gets access to Friend Guard, so you know, any damage that your allies will receive is just going to be 3/4 of the damage that they would receive without Friend Guard, so Clefairy definitely has a niche. It's got Follow Me, it's got other moves it can do, you know, just general support moves, but it's a decent Pokemon. Unfortunately, Clefable, I want to put it in the D tier. I'm not really too sure about this one. I would say probably D tier for now. I don't really think it has a niche. It's kind of funny that it's outclassed by its pre-evolution, but it is what it is. Now, Alolan Ninetales. You guys have seen me talk about this Pokemon before. I'm actually going to show you quickly a team that I have with Alolan Ninetales, and I think this thing is incredible because if you look at its stats, it's the 109 base speed tier, which is faster than Urshifu and Chi-Yu and Zapdos and a lot of different Pokemon that are like, you know, base 100. I believe it outspeeds Garchomp as well. But overall, it's a great Pokemon. You can Terra Water to get rid of your weakness to Steel and Fire. And yeah, the moves it gets are honestly pretty good. It gets a lot of good support moves. It also gets access to, like, you know, it gets Baton Pass, it gets Calm Mind, you can go for setup sets, you can go Disable, that's always a decent move. Encore especially, it's a great move for disrupting your opponent. It gets access to Ice Beam, Freeze Dry, things like that. And yeah, all in all, it has a pretty decent move pool. You could even go Weather Ball if you're really worried about, like, you know, someone changing the weather to sun or to rain, for example. You would get a really powerful Weather Ball in the rain. But this thing's not really meant as like an offensive Pokemon because it doesn't have the greatest special attack stat. It's mostly like a fast support Pokemon. And I guess the main appeal of Alolan Ninetales is Aurora Veil, so obviously screens for 5 to 8 turns is definitely really, really nice to have. But let me go back quickly to my blank team builder here. Yeah, regular Ninetales, pretty much the same. It's actually the base 100 speed tier, so it's definitely really good on like Sun teams, but it doesn't really have a niche unless you're building like a Sun team specifically. Although it's still a great Pokemon. You have access to Will-O-Wisp, you have a lot of things that make you still decent. You can run like an Overheat eject pack set, for example. Like, I think I was building one of those earlier. Yeah, I was building one of those earlier, and this thing mainly, you know, it hits that speed tier to outspeed a decent amount of Pokemon that aren't fully invested, even if they're 100 base stat, for example. So you can go for like Overheat, Eject Pack to switch you right out, so you've set up the Sun. You can go for Solar Beam, I honestly think that's pretty good. into water types as well. Yeah, overall a decent Pokemon, not much else to say about Ninetales. Poliwrath is interesting. I'm going to put it in C tier because I believe it has a very small niche, but it's generally outclassed by Urshifu Rapid Strike, which is also a water fighting type. So there's really no reason to use this Pokemon unless you, like I was saying earlier, unless it's like one of your favorite Pokemon. It is a Swift Swim user though, so if you are running a rain team, you can definitely go Poliwrath. So let me type that in here, Poliwrath. The only thing is, its stats are not like anything remarkable. So you're obviously going to go Swift Swim. Your stats are okay, so you can definitely EV like, you know, something to be optimal. You might not need to invest too much into speed, although you should carry some investment. And then, you know, maybe go like a Jolly Nature, for example, and then just go, you know, the rest in your bulk and stuff. But this thing does get access to Belly Drum, so I guess there is potential for some kind of niche, and you could probably go Citrus Berry as well. It also does get Drain Punch, so you can kind of be like a bulky sweeper under Swift Swim, where, you know, I mean, you're fairly bulky. I would probably go Grass tier if you're planning to actually build a set, but yeah, all in all, I don't think Poliwrath is going to be one of the better Pokemon in the format. I might like potentially build a team with it down the road because I do like the Pokemon a lot, but yeah, for now we're going to put it in C tier. Victreebel is next. I'm going to put this in C tier as well. It really doesn't have great stats. And that's kind of, you know, a common theme here with a lot of these Pokemon. So obviously you do have Chlorophyll, which doubles your speed, but you're doubling a base 70 speed stat, so it's essentially base 140. Alright, I don't know if that's how it works exactly, probably not. But you are doubling that speed stat under the sun, but the rest of its stats are pretty lackluster. This thing doesn't have very good bulk at all. It's very mediocre in its defenses. And even its offenses, you know, they're okay. Like base 105 is pretty good for attack. You might actually want to run a special attack set on this because I think it does get access to a lot of good special attacks. So you've got, yeah, I guess you could go like Leaf Storm, for example, if you want to put out a decent amount of damage. You can go Leaf Blade. Does this thing get Sleep Powder? It does, okay, which is good. But I don't see Rage Powder on this Pokemon, which is interesting. So I don't think it fills much of a niche. It's kind of like Hisui and Lilligant, and regular Lilligant for that matter, which are both good Pokemon, but yeah, they're definitely still faster than Victreebel because they have a faster speed stat, so that's going to go in C tier for now. Golem and Alolan Golem, we are definitely going to put them in the D tier. Really nothing much to say. Like, they do have Sturdy and they can, you know, go for Explosion and stuff, but horrible defensive typing. Even if you Terra, you have to commit your Terra to these Pokemon, and you probably don't want to be doing that because they're really not the bulkiest on the special side. Like, let me double check their stats actually, because I don't think it's special bulk. Yeah, it's 65 base special defense, which is really not good. Super slow, but good defense and actually a decent attack stat as well. But really no reason to like use Golem, I think, personally. Who knows? Maybe down the line. Dipplin's kind of a weird one. I'm going to put it in C tier just because I don't know too much about this Pokemon. Fun fact though, Dippln can actually hold the Eviolite, which means that we are going to be getting an evolution for Dippln, or it could just be an error in the game coding. But you can actually put Eviolite on this Pokemon, and if you do, like, it's already got really good defenses, which is weird, because it's supposed to be a fully evolved Pokemon, as one of the branch evolutions of Applin, and it's a cool Pokemon. Like, with Eviolite, your defenses would go really high. It kind of reminds me of, like, Porygon 2 from previous formats, but yeah, this Pokemon is pretty good. It's got Super Sweet Syrup, which is its new ability. You probably don't want to use the other two, but basically, it acts kind of like Intimidate, although it only works once per battle, which is a really weird design choice. I don't know why they would do that personally. It would be much better if you could just switch in every time and then, you know, drop the opponent's evasiveness. So that being said, it might not be the best like lead Pokemon, but it's pretty good. You know, if you're running things like Chi-Yu with Heat Wave and Overheat, if you're running Pokemon with Rock Slide like Landorus, for example, this definitely does help so that you don't miss. I'm not exactly sure how evasiveness works, but there's not many Pokemon in the format that run things like Minimize, for example, so there might not be a huge use for this Pokemon. I'm not entirely sure, but you know, it's got a decent signature move, which was what was it, Syrup Bomb, I believe, or it was called something. Yeah, Syrup Bomb. So this move is interesting. It's only 60 base power and 85% accuracy, which is not good at all. But if you do connect, you are lowering your target's speed by 1 stage for 3 turns. So it's actually a pretty decent move. And actually, now that you mention it, since you have Super Sweet Syrup and you're lowering their evasiveness, that's going to help with the shoddy accuracy. But yeah, overall, this Pokemon I'm going to say is C tier. Sinistcha? Is that the name? Sinistcha? I think this Pokemon's amazing. Like, this Pokemon is just crazy. I'm going to go and show you guys a set that I was actually building already for Sinistcha. Now, I have Terra Fairy on it because you know, as a grass ghost type, you do have weaknesses to like fire, flying, for example, but you don't necessarily want to go like steel type Terra, because, I mean, I guess you could, but it doesn't really cover your weaknesses all that well, except for like ice and flying. But the main weakness I would say is probably to dark types, so Chien-Paos and Urshifu Dark that are going to be trying to like Sucker Punch and Wicked Blow you. Yeah, you definitely want a Terra to get around that, and I think Fairy Terra is the best Terra type for this Pokemon. You could also go Water, it's really up to you, but I built a Rocky Helmet set, and the spread is actually pretty good, so you got max HP here, you have a decent amount of special attack investment. This is actually the first EV bump, so if you look at, you know, 60 plus to 68 plus, the stat point actually increases by 2 points per point of investment that you put in for your special attack. So that's definitely important to know about EV bumps. If you guys don't know what they are, comment down below. I'd be happy to tell you, or just look them up, go on YouTube as well. But yeah, you've got a decent spread here. I think this Pokemon's really good. It's got Matcha Gotcha, which is its signature move. It's essentially Scald, except with, I think, 10% less chance to burn, so you're 20% for this move, 90% accuracy, and you actually heal 50% of the damage that that you deal. So it's like a Giga Drain combined with Scald as well, but it does have a chance to miss, so I don't know, maybe run it with Dippln or something. But yeah, it's definitely a very cool move, and it's actually spread, so it does hit both opposing Pokemon. So of course, you know, it is going to be reduced by 25% if you are double targeting, but if it's single target, you have the full base 80 power. So base 80 to base 60, not a huge difference, but it's definitely important to note. I think this Pokemon's honestly going to be like, actually maybe S tier. I'm probably going to put it in S tier. I think this Pokemon's going to be really good. Might be a hot take, but, you know, we'll see. Now for the Loyal Trio, okay, so we've got Okidogi. I think this Pokemon's really cool. It's got a cool ability as well. I believe it's called Guard Dog, and what that does essentially is it blocks Intimidate, and instead you actually get a +1 to your physical attack. It's also got Toxic Chain, so you can use that like if you want, but I like Guard Dog personally. You cannot be forced to switch out, so if they go for like Roar, Whirlwind, Dragon Tail, things like that, not going to work on you. At least I think that's how it works. Yeah, so you do get a +1 boost, but it's not like Defiant. It's essentially a worse version of Defiant with another added effect. So I mean, it's kind of cool. If I were to run this Pokemon, I would probably go like Water Terra, give it Leftovers maybe, and I know it gets like Drain Punch. I would probably run Bulk Up. Water Terra mainly just to like cover your weaknesses, or just, I think Water Terra is just good like Terra type in general. Because yeah, I guess it doesn't cover your actual main weaknesses, like which are Flying, Ground, Psychic? Yeah, Psychic for sure. But this Pokemon gets Gunk Shot. So where's Gunk Shot? Gunk Shot here. And the last slot, I don't know, you have a lot of coverage. You can go like Iron Head. I personally think Knockoff is probably a good one to go for, but you also have high horsepower. So I don't know, this Pokemon looks pretty decent. And then you could just go like max HP, max attack, and then put the last point in special defense, and then just go like Adamant Nature. Because this Pokemon definitely has really good stats and like a decent ability, really good coverage. Yeah, let's change the ability to Guard Dog there, because I think that's going to be the better one going forward. But this Pokemon is definitely pretty good. I'm going to put it in A tier for now. Munkidori I don't think is going to be all that great. We're probably going to put it in B tier for now. If we look at this thing's stats, so it's Munkidori. Love the name, by the way. I love how they name these Pokemon. It's got Toxic Chain. Frisk is completely useless unless you're just playing on ladder, because most tournaments are like open team sheet, so you already know what held item your opponent has. But if you look at this thing's stats, defensively, not great. Pretty mediocre bulk, aside from your special defense, not a high HP stat either. I guess the main appeal of this thing is like, you know, running like Focus Sash, for example. Go for Toxic Chain, just try and get some like, some Psychics going, some Sludge Bombs probably. It gets a couple other moves, but nothing too important. Like, it's got decent stuff, but nothing crazy. You know, you could go for the Nasty Plot set. I think that actually might be pretty good. And then probably just like Protect for your last move, or a coverage move like Shadow Ball or Grass Knot, for example, if your team really needs that. But it's always good to have a Protect. So yeah, for now we're going to leave it in the C tier. Fezandipiti also, or sorry, we're going to leave Munkidori in the B tier and put Fezandipiti in the C tier. So Fezandipiti is interesting. They gave this thing the weirdest stats imaginable. So let's talk about its ability first. Technician, you probably don't want to use it, so Toxic Chain is honestly pretty good. Now it's got base 99 speed tier, which means that if you look at Chi-Yu, for example, which is a very meta-relevant Pokemon, this thing is base 100 speed tier, which means that Fezandipiti is always going to be slower unless you run Choice Scarf, or manage to give it a speed boost somehow. But yeah, this Pokemon I would say, because like its special attack stat is really low, but the moves it wants to go for are all special attacks. Like sure, you can go for like Brave Bird, you can go for like Dual Wing Beat and Gunk Shot, but really you want to be going for your special attacks. So I would probably go like Dazzling Gleam, Icy Wind. It does get Heat Wave, but you know, it doesn't get a ton of like unique stuff. Does this thing get Nasty Plot? It does get Nasty Plot. Okay, so I guess there is a potential for like some kind of cool sets. It also gets Calm Mind, but like I said, its bulk is okay. Like it's actually pretty good on the special side, base 125. But basically, I think this Pokemon is gonna be like a decent Pokemon to just try and spread badly poisoned at the status. So I mean, 30% is decent, especially when you're hitting 2 opponents. It's kind of like you're just rolling for it. Yeah, overall not a bad Pokemon. I would probably run something like Choice Scarf and then, yeah, just go from there. But not a terrible Pokemon, but I don't think it's really going to be all that meta relevant unless some kind of crazy strategy is figured out. But yeah, for now we're going to leave it in the C tier. Ogerpon, okay, this Pokemon is absolutely insane. It's got 4 forms, only 1 here on the tier list, but I'm going to say they're all actually going to be S tier. I put it in the A tier by accident, but this Pokemon is crazy. I think no matter what form you take, you're going to be doing well. I think the Rock form is actually the weakest form because like the masks actually give you a boost to your stats as well. So let me pull up Ogerpon here. I don't know, let's talk about the Rock one, why not? So they've all got like unique abilities. So this one gets Sturdy. The regular form is just Defiant, which is actually pretty good. Then you've got the Hearth Flame one, which gets Mold Breaker. So that's when you actually like have the mask, when you're holding the mask. And then when you Terastalize, I believe you get like a new ability, which gives you the boost depending on what form you are and what mask you're holding. But yeah, these Pokemon are honestly pretty good. I would say the Rock one is the least useful because this one, when you Terastalize, you get a boost to your defense. But most Pokemon that are hitting you with actually, its main weakness, I would say, because then you're just pure Rock type, would be Urshifu. And Urshifu has a critical hit on its Surging Strike, so the defense boost is like just completely irrelevant, so it just doesn't matter. But the move pool is really good, so you can go for like, obviously everyone's going to be running its signature move, Ivy Cudgel, which is actually interesting because it will turn into a Rock type move, so being 100 base power with perfect accuracy and a high crit ratio, that's just Stone Edge, but you don't have a chance to miss because it's perfect accuracy. So I think the Rock form is going to be the weakest personally. Then I would say probably the Grass form is going to be really good because you have Defiant. I believe you get a speed boost when you Terastalize with that, and then your ability changes as well. And then that's actually every time you switch in, so that's actually important to note. But the Fire one gives you, I believe, an attack boost, and then the Water one gives you a special defense boost. So those are all really good. Of course, you only get these boosts when you click Terra. But, you know, Water Absorb is a decent ability. The Fire one gets Mold Breaker, so it's actually pretty decent into Heatran, so you gotta be careful when you're playing against this Pokemon as well. But yeah, Ogerpon is gonna be everywhere in the meta. I'll probably make a separate video anyway. Galarian Weezing, I'm gonna say it's probably in the B tier for now because actually both forms of Weezing, because they both get access to an ability called Neutralizing Gas. So if we look at Weezing here, they both have the same stats, so I'm only really going to talk about this one because it's nice to have the immunity into Dragon, and I guess you do have a Steel weakness, but there's not too many like Steel moves running around. You do get access to Neutralizing Gas. I would probably run Citrus Berry on like almost every Weezing, and then we're going to check quickly what spread I was thinking of. Because I did have this Weezing, yeah, so if you look at regular Weezing, or this applies to the Galarian form as well, I would say something like this is good, you know, investing into your special defense. The speed there is meant really just to like outspeed some Iron Hands, but those have also been speed creeping a lot. Like some people run really fast Iron Hands, which is kind of weird, but it makes sense because people won't expect it. But yeah, Galarian Weezing, definitely a decent Pokemon, because like Neutralizing Gas, just turning off abilities is really good. So you can turn off like Heatran's Flash Fire, for example, and then still hit it with a really strong fire type move. And this works when you switch in as well. So maybe you won't have Weezing on the field, but then you switch in, and you know, most people will say like, oh, you know, I think I'm safe, but then maybe they don't know you have Weezing in the back. You switch it in, and then suddenly, you know, you've turned off their ability, whether they have like Sap Sipper, Water Absorb, whatever it might be, you might be able to just get around it entirely. So Weezing gonna be a good Pokemon. We're gonna put both forms in the B tier. They could be A as well, I don't know. Who's next? Snorlax? So Snorlax, I'm going to put in the C tier for now because I don't know. Like, this Pokemon is generally just outclassed by Ursaluna, like regular Ursaluna. If you want a Belly Drum Sweeper, use regular Ursaluna. It's got better stats. Let me pull those up quickly. So we're going to go Ursaluna, regular, and then we're going to go... What was the other Pokemon? Oh, yeah, Snorlax here. Almost forgot which one I was talking about. But yeah, just comparing their stats, like, you know, you do have more HP with the Snorlax, but you have a better offensive stat with Ursaluna. You have better defense. Special attack does not matter. Weezing's got slower speed, which is good under Trick Room, and then better special defense. But, you know, having access to Guts is just way better. You're going to be hitting harder. Whether you're going for, like, the Flame Orb set or, like, a Citrus Berry Belly Drum set, you're going to be hitting way harder. So this is just a more common Pokemon to go for. I guess Thick Fat is a pretty good ability, like, for Snorlax, because you do take half damage from Fire and Ice type moves, and that works pretty well with your Terra as well. I guess usually for normal types, you want to go Ghost Terra to get rid of your, like, fighting weakness, and then also prevent Fake Out as well. But yeah, in general, you're probably just going to be better off using Ursaluna if you want something with Belly Drum or something similar to Snorlax. Furret is not a good Pokemon. Stats are very bad. Same with Noctowl. Really no niche. Ariados, I'm going to put it in D tier. Terrible stats. I think it's got, like, base 90 for its attack, but that's about it. Politoed, I'm going to put it right up here next to Ninetales. It's going to be one of the better Pokemon in Rain, and I actually have a team here. By the way, these teams that I have, I'll probably do a video on them, like playing through them, like on Pokemon Violet, actually, or maybe on Showdown. We'll see, though. But Politoed, honestly a good Pokemon. Personally, my favorite Pokemon of all time, aside from, like, Mew. But I love Politoed so much. It does have a couple things over Pelipper, like Parasong, for example. But they both get Helping Hand, they both get Hydro Pump. I've seen some people actually running Weather Ball as well because of the, like, shaky accuracy, 80% on Hydro Pump. You could go for Muddy Water as well. Icy Wind is another, like, tech move that you have. Haze is pretty good, which I'm not sure Pelipper gets. But you also have Weather Ball, which is good. So yeah, overall Politoed going to be a good Pokemon. I think Grass Terra plus Rocky Helmet is going to be the best way to use it. But we'll see what kind of, like, teams that people generally go for. Since the format hasn't actually begun, it begins on October 1st. But yeah, Magcargo, bad Pokemon, don't use it. Mightyena, bad Pokemon, don't use it, but it's got Intimidate, so I mean, that's something. Ludicolo is interesting, like, it does have Swift Swim, and I believe it gets access to Scald. Let me double check. We're going to delete these two and then go Ludicolo. I believe it does get access to Scald, which is one thing that Politoed does not get. So let's talk about the stats first. Stats are honestly just okay. They're pretty mid. Like, the bulk is decent on the special side, not on the physical side, and then, you know, base 70 speed is, like, okay, but obviously it's going to be doubled by Swift Swim. It's the same, like, scenario as Victreebel having base 70 speed, but, you know, needing it to be doubled depending on the weather. And then, we're not going to go nature here. We were going to check if this thing gets Scald, which it does not. So I don't know if there's really, like, a niche for this Pokemon aside from Fake Out. Like, Fake Out is good. But other than that, you probably don't want to be using it on most teams. Shiftry is an interesting one because this Pokemon did get access to Wind Rider. So we're going to go Shiftry, which is the ability that Bramblegast has. I believe it's the only other Pokemon that gets it. But again, the stats are not great. Does this thing get Chlorophyll? It does, okay. So you can probably run Chlorophyll, excuse me, if you do use this thing on a Sun team. But overall, I don't think this thing has, like, good enough stats to... Does it get Fake Out? It does get Fake Out, okay. I don't think this Pokemon has good enough stats generally to be used, which is why I'm putting it in C tier for now. Volbeat and Illumise, I don't think these Pokemon are good. Absolutely abysmal stats, but I believe Illumise or Illumise or however you say it gets access to Prankster, which is actually really good because you have Prankster Tailwind, but overall there's really no other reason to use it. Probably just slap a Focus Sash on it if you are going to use it, but yeah, not a good Pokemon. Crawdaunt, it's pretty much the same, unfortunately. Like, let's look at this thing's stats. I don't think it's very good. I know it has a really high attack stat, but other than that, yeah, this thing doesn't have the best stats. Like, you're looking at, like, oh, that's not even, like, as high as I thought. I thought it was, like, base 130 or 140 attack. But yeah, this Pokemon is not something that you really want to run unless you have, like, well, I mean, you got adaptability, which is good. Like, gives you a power boost for sure on your stat moves. But yeah, maybe run it under Trick Room, but otherwise, don't use this Pokemon. That's why it's in the D tier. Melodic is really good. I'm going to put it in the A tier for now. Might be B tier, but let's go Melodic here. So Melodic does get access to Scald, and it has competitive, which is really good. Actually, I do have a Melodic build as well. So feel free to actually copy any of these EV spreads, you know, kind of some stuff that I came up with on my own, but I think this is the best way to use Melodic. So, you know, you got a Modest Nature. It can be a decent attacker if the opponent has like Intimidate and stuff, and you can even do some like interesting combinations where you can go like Skill Swap with like Wordier, for example, because Wordier does get access to Intimidate and Skill Swap. So if you like Skill Swap this onto one of your opponents, they will Intimidate you, and that will proc Melodic's Competitive, which actually gives you a +2 to your special attack if you have any of your stats lowered. So if they go for like Bleak Wind Storm and get the speed drop, or they go for Icy Wind, yeah, Melodic will definitely be like a decent Pokemon. But for now, we're going to leave it in the A tier because I'm not entirely sure it's S tier. I really don't think it is, given the other Pokemon in the A tier here. But yeah, Dusclops is pretty good. I'm going to probably put it in B tier for now. It's a really, really bulky Pokemon, and it's got like Pain Split, it's got Will-O-Wisp, it's got Trick Room. But other than that, I don't know what else it does. Like it does like Nightshade, but it's really just a Pokemon that sits on the field, tanks some hits, sets up Trick Room. You can go for a Helping Hand, I believe. Actually, does it get Helping Hand? Because if it does, it's a pretty decent Pokemon, and it's definitely valid in the B tier. But let's look at Dusk. Oh, just typed it there. I can't type today. So Dusclops. Oh, I'm typing it wrong. But it's got a really low HP stat, base 40, which is terrible. But does it get Helping Hand? That was the main thing I wanted to... It does get Helping Hand, okay. And its abilities are pretty much useless, so that's another thing that kind of holds it back, but we're going to leave it in B tier for now. Chimeco, do not use this Pokemon, it's bad. Torterra, I don't know. Torterra gets Shell Smash this generation, I believe. So that's like one thing that it has going for it. And it does have Shell Armor, so you can't get critical hit. But other than that, like, doesn't really fulfill any kind of crazy niche. Like, I guess Wood Hammer, Earthquake. It's a decent Pokemon, but I'm gonna say D tier for now. Actually, maybe D tier is a little like harsh on Torterra, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it in. Yeah, we'll put it in C tier for now. Same goes for Infernape. I don't think this Pokemon is necessarily anything crazy, but it does get things like Overheat, which you probably want to run over like Flare Blitz, for example, just because you usually want to go for Focus Sash. It is not a bulky Pokemon. Empoleon is one that I think is going to be in B tier because Empoleon is very similar to Milotic this generation, since they actually gave it competitive as well. And what competitive does, as I was saying before, gives you a +2 boost if you are, if you do have a stat lowered by the opponent. So, you know, there's definitely potential for it. I think it can be a decent special attacker, but it doesn't get Scald. See, Scald is illegal on this Pokemon, so that definitely holds it back a little bit, but you probably want to go like, I mean, you could go like Assault Vest and then just go like max for your stats, like max HP, max special attack, or there might be like a better way to optimize it and then just put the last point in like defense or something. So yeah, I would probably run something like Aqua Jet, Flash Cannon for your stab move. You could go like Ice Beam, and then you could probably go like Hydro Pump or Hydro Cannon. Probably Hydro Pump, and then maybe just go... Oh, I just realized I put Adamant. Instead of Hydro Pump, you can potentially go for like Weather Ball. You can go for, I believe, Muddy Water. Or does it? It doesn't get Muddy Water? Okay, that's unfortunate. But yeah, you can definitely run Weather Ball if you're going on a rain team. But other than that, you're kind of forced to go Hydro Pump. Like, nobody really uses Surf in doubles. Ambipom, not a good Pokemon. It has Fake Out. That's all it has. Yanmega, not a good Pokemon either. There's really no reason to use it. Like, what does it do that's unique? You know, if you can find something that it does that's unique and prove me wrong, feel free to comment, but I don't think it's a good Pokemon in general. Gliscor, a lot of people like Gliscor actually, because, you know, I mean, I personally love Gliscor. It's got a great shiny, but I think that's all that's really great about it. Like, it's got good defensive stats, maybe apart from its, like, HP and special defense, which are pretty mediocre. Really good defense, and then I guess this thing gets, like, Poison Heal, and you would probably just run, like, Toxic Orb on it, and then, you know, but other than that, like, the offensive stats are okay, like, base 95 attack. I just don't really see a niche for this Pokemon. It's got good speed as well, but not, like, good enough. So I don't know. I don't think this Pokemon's really anything great, which is why we're going to leave it in the D tier for now. Mamoswine, I think this generation is actually going to be going into the B tier. Maybe C tier. B tier might be a bit too generous, but this Pokemon is good. I mean, like, it gets decent... Oh, where'd my team builder go? Mamoswine. I'm not typing here. So Mamoswine, it's got decent stats. It's got thick fat as well. I guess you could run like Snowcloak shenanigans, but I think Articuno's better at that if you are going to go that route. It's got a good attack stat here, and then like defenses are alright, and HP is like good, not great. It's actually a little faster than I thought. For some reason I thought it was base 60 speed, but it gets Ice Shard, it gets like Earthquake, you know, Icicle Spear or something you can go with as well, like go with the loaded dice set. Maybe go like Stomping Tantrum or Earthquake, depending on what your team has, but I think it's a good Pokemon. Bubble Pass, not good at all. Dusknoir, not a good Pokemon as well. They're going straight into the D tier. Actually, this is one that I want to talk about quickly, so I'm going to put it in the D tier, but I'm going to tell you why. Because this Pokemon is completely outclassed by Iron Hands. So here's Conkeldurr, and then here is Iron Hands. Now, I know you do have like a weakness to ground-type moves with Iron Hands, but a lot of people will Terra Grass or Terra Water to get rid of that weakness anyway, so like, whatever. You don't have Guts, but if you look at their stats, they both have base 140 attack, but everything else is better on Iron Hands, except for Special Attack, which you're not using. So every other stat on Iron Hands is just better. It's got way higher HP, it's got way better defense, actually, yeah, way better defense. Its special defense is like 3 points better, and it's slightly faster, so why use Conkeldurr? I mean, Guts, Flame Orb maybe, but like, it's a pretty underwhelming Pokemon when Iron Hands exists, so definitely no real reason to use it. We got Leavanny here. I don't think this Pokemon has a niche at all. Not going to talk about it much. Same with Swanna. They're two like Gen 5 Pokemon that, you know, some people really like, others are indifferent to them. I belong to the latter half of that. I don't think these Pokemon are really great. Chandelure, I want to put it in the C tier, but I'm going to put it in D for now because this Pokemon, like, again, it's a Pokemon with a really great stat, like one really great stat, which is its special attack, but everything else is pretty mid. Like, you have good defenses, but your HP is really low. I don't understand why they would do that. And then your speed is only 80. So, like, the only real niche for this Pokemon, like, it gets Trick Room, which is good. Or you could just run, like, a fully offensive set and go, like, Overheat, Heat Wave, Shadow Ball probably, and then what else does this thing get? Shadow Ball or Hex, and then maybe, like, Flamethrower or, like, a coverage move, like Psychic, for example, and then just go Choice Scarf. And then obviously just go, like, Max for the stats, special attack and speed. But if you're running that, you definitely need Timid, which means you're hitting a little less hard. So, I mean, just use Chi-Yu. Like, just use Chi-Yu. It's a better Pokemon. It might not have as high of a special attack stat, but it's got Beads of Ruin, which pretty much makes it stronger. So, there's really no reason to use Chandelure. It's still one of my favorite Pokemon, so you might see me running a team with it in the future, but I don't know. It's just a niche pick. It's definitely not good. Mienshao, I'm going to put it in C tier because I don't think this Pokemon's great. But it's definitely okay. Like, it doesn't have the best bulk. Actually, it's got really bad bulk. But I'm going to put it in C tier for now. You probably just want to run a Focus Sash. It doesn't really do all that much that's unique, but I definitely think it stands out a bit more, and it's a bit stronger than things like Ambipom. Ambipom is just not good at all. Mandibuzz, probably in the C tier as well. Or realistically, maybe in the D tier, because it's a Pokemon that's been power crept a lot. If you want something bulky, just run like Weezing, or something that has like a really good unique ability, or something like Milotic, which has historically just been a really great Pokemon. Super bulky. Can also put out a lot of damage, like especially with a competitive boost, but yeah, back to Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz doesn't really have any of that, so... Trevenant is a Pokemon that I want to put in C tier because it's a really cool Pokemon, but I don't think it has a niche again. It's going to be like good under Trick Room. Its typing is pretty good, you know, Grass Ghost, but other than that, I don't use Trevenant. I mean, unless you're going for like Harvest with like a Citrus Berry in the sun, that's definitely cool because like if you don't know, Harvest always gets you your berry back once you consumed it if you're under the sun. So there's no like 50% chance, it's 100% chance. But then again, like you're kind of just stalling. There's really not much reason to use that Pokemon. Charjabug, I'm going to put it in C tier because like it's an Eviolite user. Let's look at this thing's stats quickly. Charjabug, am I spelling that wrong? Oh, it's with a J, okay. Battery's kind of a cool ability, you know, it makes your special attack stronger for your teammates, because this Pokemon, not really an attacker. I really don't know what you would run with this Pokemon either. Like, it gets, like, screens, it gets, like, Sticky Web, but that's more of a singles move. Thunder Wave is probably what you want to run. It doesn't even get Body Press, but it gets Iron Defense, so... Yeah, I really don't know much about this Pokemon, but, like, looking at its stats, obviously pretty good bulk with, like, Eviolite, but low HP, so you need to have that maxed. Really low speed. I don't know. Not a great Pokemon. Vikavolt, as much as I want to put it in the C tier, I'm going to put it in D for now. Not a great Pokemon. It's got great special attack, just like Chandelure. Actually, I'm going to put them next to each other, because they have the same special attack stat. But really, like, realistically, they're not great. Maybe under Trick Room, you can use Vikavolt and start dealing, like, damage, but you're probably better off going Iron Hands. You know, he works well under Trick Room, he's a strong electric type. Yeah, I don't know. No real reason to use it. I forget this thing's name. Is it Cutiefly? Or what is it? Oh, Ribombee is its name, right. Ribombee. This Pokemon is okay. If it got Friend Guard, it might be better, but, like, it doesn't. So... I mean, Sweet Veil is good, because it prevents sleep. I don't know. This Pokemon's, like, not good because of its stats. It's got terrible stats. No bulk at all. An okay, like a pretty mediocre special attack stat, and good speed. But again, it's not 125 base speed, it's 124, so it's going to be underspeeding base 125s. Yeah, don't use that Pokemon. Kommo-O is actually really good. This might be the last worthwhile Pokemon to talk about, aside from, like, the obvious one that you see down there. And I'm not talking about Cramorant. But yeah, Kommo-O is pretty good. Most people are going to be running, like, Terra Steel, for example. We're going to be going Steel here. Bulletproof makes you immune to Bullet and Bomb moves, so things like Bullet Punch, Shadow Ball, things like that, you are completely immune, which is awesome. So that's going to be the ability to run. I would probably go, I think Citrus Berry is what most people would go. And, like, the thing that makes this Pokemon unique, so obviously Steel gets rid of your 4 times weakness to Fairy, and then your 2 times weakness to Dragon and Ice. And, like, you know, Psychic, Flying as well. But most people will go, like, Clangor's Scales, Clangor's Soul, because these moves do, like, setup, and then the other one, Clanging Scales, is actually a spread attack, so it's actually really strong. And oh, I remembered it wasn't actually Citrus Berry, it's going to be Throat Spray, because what you can do is go for Clangor's Soul, which is a Sound type move. So you lose a third of your HP, but then you get an Omni Boost. So all of your stats get a +1, and then with Throat Spray, since that activates, your special attack goes to +2. So it's pretty good. It's got coverage. I think this thing gets Flash Cannon as well, and then probably just Protect as your last move, because you usually want to run that. Yeah, I mean, you could pair this thing with, like, Ursaluna and go for, like, you know, Lunar Blessing and things like that, but it's a good Pokemon. I'm going to put it in the A tier for now. Maybe B is probably better suited for it, but I think it's pretty strong, so I'm going to put it in A. It's also pseudo-legendary. Cramorant, D. Morpeko, D. Not a good Pokemon. I like Morpeko a lot, personally. Electric Dark type, and it's got, like, a cool mechanic with Aura Wheel. But I don't think it's great. Cramorant, it's one of the gimmick Pokemon, so not great. And then Bloodmoon Ursaluna. Okay, this is going straight in the S tier, so... This is my list for now. Let me talk quickly about Bloodmoon Ursaluna, although I did mention it in my previous video as well. It's got good stats, really comparable to regular Ursaluna, but the main appeal of this Pokemon is its signature move, Bloodmoon, which, as you can see, incredibly strong. It's like Gigaton Hammer. I also talked about it in the previous video about the top 3 cores in Regulation E, so go check that out if you're interested. This Pokemon is incredibly good. Most people will either go, like, Fairy Terra or the Ghost Terra. Ghost Terra good for normal types. And then Mind's Eye, this thing hits Flutter Mane. It hits any Ghost type. It's really good. So, I don't know. I personally think Bloodmoon Ursaluna is gonna be pretty much everywhere, but again, it's gonna be on, like, Trick Room teams and probably not much else, because it does have low speed. I believe, yeah, it's 2 points higher than regular Ursaluna, which is base 50 speed, so you could run, like, Assault Vest and then just go, like, 4 attacks. Yeah, if that's the case, you probably want to go, like, Moonblast, because this thing has good special defense. Or no, sorry, it has bad special defense, but good defense. Assault Vest definitely helps patch that up, and then you can go for things like, you know, you're probably going to want to run Earth Power, and then maybe Hyper Voice is the last one. Although, if you're running Hyper Voice, you might want to go Throat Spray, which means you can't run Assault Vest. But maybe instead of Hyper Voice on this set, you can go for something like... I'm trying to think of what other coverage it gets. I guess there's not a lot. honestly, so maybe Hyper Voice is the best. Yeah, it's probably just Hyper Voice. There's also a Calm Mind set, but not going to talk about this Pokemon too much anymore. Might make a separate video on it, might even do a team featuring it. But yeah, that's going to be the list for now. So I hope you guys did enjoy that. Let me know what your thoughts are as well down in the comments down below. And leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to keep videos coming out for you guys as long as I can. I do get busy with life and stuff sometimes, but hopefully I'm going to keep the videos coming. And yeah, stay tuned for more content like this. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. This is my list. Let me know what you think, and have a great day. Peace.